All right. So today we have Nikita Dupree, the Airbnb RN. And just to go into it, Nikita, just tell us how you got into nursing, and then we'll go into everything that you do from there.
All right, sounds good. Hey, you guys, it is Nikita, the Airbnb RN. So I feel like my nursing spiel is a little bit like everyone else's. Like I generally just wanted to help people. When I was in middle school, really, that's where I started to like think like what exactly do I want to do? Because I feel like when you're in middle school about to go to high school, that's the time, an important time. It doesn't have to be that time, but that's enough time that you start to basically go down the path of your career. So after I got that idea, I want to help people. The nursing idea came in my head. I'm like, okay, well, what high school can I go to? Because I don't think it's worldwide. They have high schools that are made for different industries. So you got military, like ROTC, medical high schools, engineering, things like that. So the particular school that I went to was for medical. It was a medical magnet school. So I just started straight from ninth grade. We had nursing classes. So by the 11th grade, they had already paid for my CNA license. And then so after that, I was just able to jump straight into nursing. So it was like put me in the environment already to go down the path that I wanted to. It was like tracking my career, basically.
That's super interesting. Where are you from? So like where I'm at, I'm outside of New York City. So it just like you just got your either private high schools or public high schools. And we don't have that like specialty type high schools.
Yeah, I thought that was like normal. So I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. So a lot of our high schools here, like mostly if you're not thinking about your career, you just go to the one in your neighborhood. But if you're thinking about your career, they have magnet schools that will pick you up from any side of town and take you particularly to that school because you're needing to go to that school for whatever your career is. So literally buses are coming from the west side, taking students to the south side because they need to go to that school for whatever it is. So I'm on the west side, but my school was on the north side. And that was the reason I went to that school. And it definitely fast tracked like my career.
That's dope. Like if I knew that, because if you don't know, I'm Filipino. Like all of us Filipinos are nurses. So it's like, if I knew that, I could have just like been like, all right, let me just tell what my parents are telling me to do. Let me just go to that nursing high school and just get it started.
I don't know if it's talked about a lot because I feel like my neighbor, she was older than me and she also went to the school that I went to. I think I heard it from her because I probably would have just went to my neighborhood high school too. I could have walked there and versus catching a bus like all the way across town. But when she said that, I was like, I think I want to go there too for nursing. And that's what I did.
How long have you been a nurse now?
7 years.
There we go. We're some OGs out here. So what was your first nursing job?
So I worked at UF Health. That's pretty nationwide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's a crazy backstory to that because that was the only hospital I ever wanted to work at. Like I was like dead set on I want to work at UF Health because it was the number one here. It was the number one trauma facility here. It was the learning hospital. We got all type of patients. So I was like, I don't want to work nowhere else. It took me and backstory, I was also already working there as a financial rep. So I had my CNA license, but it was easier for me to do the financial rep and nursing school. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a CNA license on the back burner and I'm gonna just do the insurance stuff because I could be here doing my nursing work too.
Oh, wow.
But I literally waited like 5 months to get a nursing job there after I got my license because I didn't want to work anywhere else. I was literally applying other places and then I get the job and I'm just like, I don't want to work there. Like I didn't care. I was like, I only want to work at UF Health. And so I did work. I did finally get a job there. And then I started off doing med surg tele there. And then I was doing that for like a year and a half. And then I started to float to other floors, which was a PCU floor, the next floor that I floated to. And I was like, you know what? So I feel like as when you first start off, if you start off in med surg tele or just med surg, thinking of like progressing can be a little scary if you haven't experienced it. But when I floated there, it was kind of like one of those mixed floors. Like they had PCU patients, but they also had the med surg patients. But if you were a PCU nurse, you would get the PCU patients. So when I floated, I got the med surg patients. But I'm looking at the PCU patients and I'm like, I could do this. So that day I went and talked to the manager like, hey, this is where I'm working at. I've been there for like a year and a half now. Y'all, I'm ready to step it up. Like, can I come over here? 2 weeks later, then I was on the PCU floor. And then I think I stayed there for a year. And after that, I wanted so bad to be an ED nurse.
Mhm.
And I would do on that PCU floor, you didn't have to have your ACLS, just your BLS. And I was like, let me just do the things that I need to do. So like I look better for the ED. So I went and got my ACLS. I did charge nurse, mentorship, all this different type of stuff, but I could not secure the job as an ED nurse. So I was like, you know what? And then I hate when you put in an application that you never get any feedback as to why you weren't picked. It's just like decline. And it's just like rejection. Like nobody likes rejection over and over and over again. I was like, you know what? Bump that. I'm about to travel nurse. I'm about to travel nurse now.
Yeah.
And it used to be two nurses on my floor. They were PRN nurses, and they would work PRN. One of them had like a job in Orlando, and the other one was somewhere else. Every time they came back, I was like, how's everything going? Like, what's going on? Like, okay, what y'all making there? Like, oh, just, asking all the questions because I had no clue about travel nursing. And I know they probably got tired of me because literally every time I'm like, what's new? What's new? And so finally, I just took the step and I stayed there PRN, but then I went to Tallahassee, which was like right up the road. I was driving back and forth, and that was the start of my travel nursing career.
And you've been travel nursing ever since?
So I was travel nursing, doing that. COVID started. Then I started traveling out of state. And then after COVID is when I started, well, the mustard seed for Airbnb was already planted like years before. I just had been just thinking about it, researching it. I wasn't a nurse prior. So I was like, okay, well, I don't have the funds. And so I was like, okay, just research. So I started travel nursing, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what, Nikita, you got the funds now. Like you're making the money travel nursing. But in the back of my head, I'm like, at the end of the day, I love nursing, but I'm working for someone else. I want to do something that, I'm passionate about nursing. Over time, you start getting burnt down. It's like, okay, what's next? I want to do this for years and years and years and years. Like, what's next? So I was like, Nikita, okay, let's not take another contract. Let's go home and start Airbnb. And so I came home. My last contract I did was in Memphis, Tennessee. Came home, and I can't remember when that contract ended, but I came home and started the LLC for the Airbnb to start that. And then since then, I've been taking local contracts here. So like I'm PRN right now, but I've taken like every local contract at the hospital because it's like, okay, it's still travel money, but I can stay close to home. So, okay, let's do that.
So let's, first off, how much were you making during the travel before we go into the Airbnb stuff?
God, this was like peak COVID. So my first contract, it was not a COVID contract because that was my first like one. Like it was like we were hearing about COVID, but it wasn't here yet. So in Tallahassee, I believe it was like the normal travel pay, like, well, not normal right now, but $1,700 every 2 weeks. That was like the normal when I first started. And then when that COVID 5,000, 6,000 a week. It was crazy.
I'm still pissed at myself for not taking contracts during COVID.
I did it, and I'm still pissed at myself that I didn't go harder doing it, because it's just like it wouldn't have been being greedy. It would just been taking full advantage of what you could do. And I was just like, I still only want to work my 3 shifts because I don't like overdoing it. I'm not that type of nurse. I have those nurse friends that they're going to go hard. They're going to work the 6 shifts. They're going to pick up OT. Like,
it ain't me.
That ain't me. I'm sorry. It just ain't. Cause after my 3, I already be tired. And then even with the COVID, they started like initiating 48 hours, like minimum, like those were majority of the contracts. It's like, okay, if I got to do it, okay, I'm going to do it. But if it's up to me to pick up an additional shift, I ain't going to do it. So then when I came back doing the local contracts, they varied from 60 to 75 an hour, which was still good because I was home and not having to duplicate my expenses. So.
Yeah. So like now that you have made the money for travel, How did you learn about Airbnb?
So I feel like just like everyone else, I just stayed at one. So I feel like I had a birthday, I can't remember which age, but I had a birthday get together at one. And yes, I'm a host now. I'm not one of those hosts that are watching you like a hawk. Like, I don't want you to have a party at mine, but I understand that people are still going to sneak and do it. But long as you clean up behind yourself and it doesn't look like you had one, then
Mhm.
I don't be like, about it, because I've done it before. But if my name is on the dotted line, okay, you're going to get your stuff back exactly how it was. So
Mhm.
I had to get together at one, and it was a house, and it was just like, that was the little first mustard seed, like, dang, this is something I could do. Like, they just rented their space out with everything that someone needed for a comfortable stay. Like, I could do this. So that was the first little seed. And then just over the years, I would continue to think about it. But like I said, I didn't feel like I had the funds then. I was still working in the healthcare field, but as a
Mhm.
financial rep, at that time I was only making like $14. First, it was $12 an hour at one of the HCA
Dang.
hospitals. Then when I went to Shands as a financial rep, it was like 14. So I still didn't feel like I had like enough to invest in a house. And then, with the real estate, you have so many different avenues to go in it with anything. If you're provided with too many options, you don't know which one to pick.
Yeah.
You don't know what is best for you. So that's how I felt. So that's why I just sat on the idea for so long. Then outside of Airbnb, I used to have a wig business. I went to Atlanta a couple years later, and I took a wig making class there. But this time, the Airbnb that I stayed at, it was an apartment. And so now, and it was way nicer than the house I stayed at. And I was like, well, dang, like, my host, she doesn't own this whole apartment community. She can't. So then I was like, well, how the heck is she doing it in an apartment? So then I wrote her. I didn't like go deep and trying to like pick her brain too much, but I was just like, hey, how are you able to do it in an apartment community? And she told me that it was under a corporate lease. So then that sparked that. And so, like, over the years, I was just gathering information, YouTube University, asking
Yeah.
questions, like, just a little bit. Like, if I would have known what I know now, I would have got a mentor to fast track my process, but I didn't. So I just literally build upon the information. And like I said, after I became a nurse, traveled a little bit, still knew I wanted to do it, and then found out about the arbitrage. Like, I didn't get that piece from her that is arbitrage. Um, I came back and I spent my own money to start my first Airbnb.
You're not the first person that told me about like arbitrage and all that. I had Christina Stevens on here too, and she's all about like the midterm rental game and then for me, I just can't wrap my head around it because I have rental properties. And then I'm just like, everyone's like, instead of putting 20% down on these $100,000 houses or whatever, why not use the money and get a lease from someone and, well, figure out if it's okay with them for you to rent it out. How did you get through that hurdle that is
Right.
like,
And I feel like, and we'll see, and you let me know when I explain it, but I feel like the way that I see it probably will make sense. But with me, I don't have any friends, any family that have any background in real estate. Yeah,
mhm,
I have my own primary residence, and I knew how to go about, and I found out how to go about and get my own primary residence, and just thank God I did everything the right way. But I feel like if you're not in the right rooms, the right circle, or have the right people in your ear that can show you how to do it, then it's hard to navigate it by yourself. So like when you're saying you're putting that 20% down, that's not easy to do when you're not for certain. So I already have my primary residence in my head right now. I'm ready to invest in ownership. But back then, that's a big risk, 20% down. Then if I want to do Airbnb versus long-term rental or short-term rental, um, I still have to furnish it. Now that's that for a whole house, maybe a 3-2, that could be about $30,000 to furnish it. So now I'm thinking of all of these big risks that I have to take, and I'm not even for certain. Prior to me even starting Airbnb, I didn't know about market research. So now add that onto the plate. Now I'm buying
Mhm.
a property. I didn't even research the market. I don't even know if I could short-term rental in that neighborhood because that is a thing. Some HOAs don't allow that. So now I feel like I would have been jumping in very blindsided, not knowing. Versus if I had somebody to guide me, I might have started with ownership because at the end of the day, that is my end goal. But I feel like just as with my nursing career, I stair stepped my way to where I am. So I was in the medical magnet school, got my CNA license. So it was like I was always in the environment, studying,
Mhm.
learning more and more about it to bam, I'm a nurse. So
Oh, what am I doing here?
so when I became a nurse, it wasn't like a shell shock. Like some people on their first day with their preceptor, they're scared
Mhm.
shitless
Yeah.
because they're not used to being in that environment outside of clinicals. And it's like, damn, I got my RN license. Now it's all my responsibility versus me. I worked at a trauma one facility. So and then when I was doing the financial rep, I was always in the ED anyway. So I'm always seeing crazy ass shit happening. Even though I wasn't doing the medical part of it, I was there. Then I did the CNA work. So it's like, I feel like I'm a little biased, but CNA, when you start from CNAs and you go to nursing, it's like you're just like, I don't know, you're just the best. I don't know. But um, I already knew some of the things that nurses could do, like, and I just got more responsibility. But
Mm.
I was already there. It wasn't that scary to me. Same thing with rental arbitrage or Airbnb arbitrage. I'm leasing the property, so I don't have to go in with the 20% down. I can
Mhm.
go in with whatever their application fee is, whatever their deposit is, whether it be like a full deposit or a prorated deposit. And then I could take like as little as $5,000 to furnish it and put it on
Mhm.
Airbnb versus the 20% down, maybe $30,000 worth of furniture,
Yeah.
so much more just to not be certain. And what if that market is not good for ownership? Then I have to think about pivoting, which I didn't know anything about pivoting into other things, whether it be long-term leasing, short-term, midterm wasn't a thing really when I started. It
Mhm.
probably was a thing, but I don't think people had like coined it yet. But midterm, definitely having a backup plan. I wouldn't have had a backup plan if I would have just jumped into ownership because I didn't know anything. Now, maybe I could have probably figured it out along the way, but this was just an easy way to stair step my way into ownership. If all else fails and I didn't like it, I have a year lease. I don't have a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year mortgage. So that's how I look at it. So some people that get into this field, they might not have the same goal. So I follow a lot of people, they have 20, 40, hundreds of Airbnb arbitrage rentals. That's their thing. But my thing is always to get into it. I can start making some money, which can help me with that ownership part when I'm ready for it. And I'm also gaining the knowledge that I need for when I'm ready to jump into it. I'm more knowledgeable than I would have been at the beginning. What do you think about
Um,
that?
my brain is like the gears are turning. Like everything you're saying, it makes sense because for the houses that I have, I put that 20 to 30 grand in, and then yeah, and I'm only making after like the mortgage maybe 3 to 500 bucks a month, like after all the mortgages in. And then from what I hear, and I'm sure you'll give me some numbers in a little bit, when you're doing Airbnb arbitrage and all that, you're probably making like a few grand a month, maybe, instead
Mhm.
of me just 300 bucks. What's 300 bucks? Where does that really push the needle? Like for me, other than tax write-offs for having a house.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, but still, you have that ownership aspect. You have that equity, and at some point, it will be paid off. Like the mortgage will be paid off.
Mhm.
Versus what I'm doing, it will never be paid off because it's renting. But yes, that cash up front is definitely good. So, um, depending on your market, so that's one thing you have to learn about is the market. Is it allowed in your market? What is the rents in your market? um, Depends on how much you can make with the particular property that you got. Now you can do the apartments, or some people even do properties as far as from an owner. Currently, I only do the apartment. So you can get anywhere in the particular market that I am in from 800 at minimum up to 2000. It just depends on the seasonality, which is another thing I didn't know anything about. If I would have jumped into ownership, I'm like, what is seasonality? Hold on, let me look into that. So I'm like, you have to keep up with your market. You have to be willing to continuously learn, because when you jump in and you might think that you know everything, but it's always something else that you have to learn. So 800 on the low end, and it depends on what your expenses is. I always try to tell my mentees, don't go crazy with the furniture. You can do things, you can get quality furniture at a budget price, because then it's going to take you longer to pay off what you spent to get it started and make a profit. So do it on the low end, and then you start getting your profit and continue to learn about your market, so you'll know what your competition is doing. Are you going into low season? Or are we in high season where we can bump up our prices? Different things like that.
So for your Airbnb places that you have, what is like the usual rent that you're paying a month?
So, and it's different I'm at 3 locations. It's different from all those locations, but it can start from 1,500 on up to 2,000, depending on what your floor plan is. Do you want to be looking at the forest, or do you want to be looking at a lake or a pool? Do you want to be on the first or the third level? All of those are going to go into like that price point, but from 1,600 to around 1,900. It just depends. It varies.
So what do you look for in like the market when you're trying to choose out a place?
So I like to do a thing, and I can't coin this term. I actually got it from, and I can't even think of their name. Of course, I'm on the spot. I went to a short-term rental convention. It starts with an A. I'll think of it and I'll let you know. But it's called the enemy method. That's one of the main things that I do. So basically, I'm going on either airdna.co, and I'm looking at the particular market that I'm interested in, because that's going to give you the analytics of that market. airdna.co is basically a market rentalizer site. So it's going to tell you the occupancy rate in that market. It's going to tell you about seasonality. It's going to tell you the average of like what people are charging for that market. And then you can even take it a step further. If you know a property that you're interested in, or you just want to put something in there, put the address in there and code, like edit it or filter it to 1 bedroom, 1 bath, how many guests you're going to be sleeping, to get an approximate amount for that market. That's one. And then as far as the enemy method, you can find properties on the airdna.co site, or just go to airbnb.com. What market that you're interested in, go to that. What property type that you're interested in, filter that, and look at the competition in your market. How are they doing? How do they listings look? What is working for them? What might not be working for them? Look at their calendar. Look
See
at
if
their
it's booked out or something.
Right. Look at their price points, all of that. And I always tell my mentees as well, this is not like 100% guarantee, but it's going to give you enough information to make a formulated opinion versus going in it blind and not knowing, like going in it with emotions, basically. Like, because when I got my first property, that's what I did. I didn't know all this shit. I just literally was like, dang, this is a good area. A lot of people be coming back here shopping and stuff. And these are some nice apartments. They were some new build apartments. These are some really nice apartments. I'm gonna just ask them. And it just so happened to work for me. And I feel like I'm a risk taker, because that could have went like, it did end up going like going bad, but it wasn't because it was a bad location. It was because of something else.
We'll go into that in a second. But regarding like the first property, how did you, I guess the hardest part for me is, how did you reach out to the people that own the property to be like, hey, this is what I want to do?
Right. So with the first property, which is what I was talking about, I just saw it was a good area. It had a lot of shopping in that area. It was a new community. So it was an apartment community. And I had came back and I was ready to start. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go talk to them. So I went in as I was a tenant. and introduce myself. But then I was just like, I don't want to waste your time. My name is Nikita, and I'm coming in behalf of my business name. I'm looking to see if you guys allow short-term rentals or corporate leases at your property. If you guys do, what are your requirements to do business? Each community has different guidelines. Some communities don't even know about it, which is shocking in this day and age, but some don't know about it. Some have strict guidelines. Some have not so strict guidelines. And you, at the end of the day, make the decision whether or not you want to go forth with that company. At that time, I was just looking for a yes, but I don't think that they didn't have, they really didn't know about it. So I just explained it to them, and then they told me yes. Where I went wrong with them, which what I was saying went down bad, was I didn't get it in written, like a written agreement. It was just a verbal agreement. So at the time, I didn't know. I've never stayed in an apartment community. So I went from my mom's house to my house. So I didn't know that the apartment communities, like, it's a revolving door in their leasing office a lot of the time. So the leasing agents, they come and go, management comes and goes. So where they had made that agreement with me, the apartment community was sold to a whole new owner. They brought in a whole new management team. Okay, now they don't want to honor the agreement.
Whatever was talked about.
Yep.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you fix that issue?
So I end up going and speaking with them. They were like basically just apologize and saying that the new owner doesn't want it to allow any corporate leases there. And the main thing, which was because it was not in my lease, they weren't able to honor it. If it was in my lease, they would have had to honor it for my year lease. And then from there, either say, okay, we're not going to renew with you, or we will renew with you. Because sometimes it could have been because maybe that owner had already experienced some negative things with it, which is why he didn't want to allow it. Or maybe he just didn't have any experience with it at all. So just like we know, one bad apple can ruin like the thing for everybody. So I don't know in particular what was wrong. Had he experienced something or not, but he just didn't want it. So I didn't have it written. I ended up speaking to an attorney about it, but it was like, dang, do I want to go forth with this and spend money? Just even if I were to win, I don't know, would they be like nitpicking and like trying to like charge me fees for little things, or maybe treating my guests wrong? Because I mean, they can be nasty, because your guests do have access to the amenities as well. The amenities are a lot of times right there in the leasing office, like the gym, the pool, right there. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna find somewhere else to go. So after that happened, I was like,
So did you have to break your lease with them?
No, they let me go.
Oh, they're just like, all right.
I was there. I was there in person. I was there over the phone talking to them like, hey, well, I had this agreement. I'm not doing anything wrong. And then they had put a 7-day eviction notice on my door too. I was like,
what?
I went back and they did it like a Sunday evening, like 5 minutes before they were about to close. I seen it on the camera because I have cameras on the outside of the doors. And I was like, what the hell was that they put on the door? So the guest was gone. So I ran there, got the letter. I was like, oh my God, I'm sick. I couldn't sleep.
Blessing in disguise.
Right. And then what people have to know, when you're in entrepreneurship, whatever you're in, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to have good times, you're going to have bad times, but are you going to stop in those bad times? I always tell people too, when you're doing something, especially like entrepreneurship, you have to know your why. And it can't just be like a little, like, I'm doing it for the money. Like, really, why are you doing this? Because when the hard times come, like, I've took financial losses with this. I've taken rejection with this. I had the 7-day eviction with this. I could have easily said, man, bump this. I'm not doing this no more. But at the end of the day, my why was bigger than it all. So I'm like, okay, Nikita, I came back home, got my little pen and pad. I started writing down all the apartment communities that I was interested in. Like, I've never stayed in an apartment, but it's so many apartments in Jacksonville. I was like, oh my God. And now it's like the car, I don't know what you would call it, phenomenon. You see a car that you like, you've never seen nobody with the car before. You get the car, everybody and their mama got the car.
It's true.
So now that I'm in this industry and with working with apartments everywhere I go, I'm like, dang, there's a new apartment community I've never seen. There's another one. But anyway, the management company, the manager at the leasing office, she ended up, I was like, well, hey, I'm a nurse right now. I don't have time to be out of here in 7 days. I have bookings still coming. So I need more than that. So she gave me 30 days. So within that 30 days, I was able to find somewhere else that I could change my unit to, because I wasn't bringing all that damn furniture home either. So I found another place, and the day I moved out, I moved straight into the next community and continued.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a
That,
lot. I was, when I say I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. That's all I could think about. I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?
that's a crazy story. And when you're jumping to like the next one so quickly, is there a certain paperwork that you need to start an Airbnb?
So when you, as far as a business wise, yes. So your LLC, you need to have your EIN number, your Duns and Bradstreet number. And let me just take it a step back. The LLC was, which is gonna, your business entity formulating that business company. Your EIN number, basically like your business social security number. Your Duns and Bradstreet, which is going to help formulate that business
Credit score. Yeah.
correct. And your, then of course, after all of that, open your business bank account. When I'm switching to the different communities, I don't have to alter any of that, because I'm basically doing the same thing that I did with the first one. I'm just going to them, presenting myself, my business, and seeing, do they allow it? And so that's all that I had to do. Now, as far as the unit that I was switching, of course, I had to get new professional pictures taken, because it was a different layout, it was a different community. So you can't have a guest coming and they see these pictures. That's all that they have to go off of. And then now you're sending them to a completely different apartment with different amenities. So of course I had to get that changed. And then that addendum in the lease, I made sure that I had that. And basically it's just stating that they are aware that my business is doing business with their company and their communities, which is what I didn't have at that first apartment community.
So this one made it. You learned from the first one, you put it into the second one.
That was a hard lesson to learn, but you're either going to learn from experience or you're going to learn from your mentor. That's what I've learned. And I would much rather learn from my mentor than an experience like that.
And where you're at in Jacksonville, do you need like a Airbnb permit at all?
Not here, no. But some places that is a requirement. So that's super duper important that you look up your city ordinance. I can never say this word, ordinances. Basically your city, your city law as it relates to short-term rentals, to see what is allowed, because it could be a permit, it could be fees, it could be minimum 30 days, because that is something. And even within when I'm asking the community, do they allow it? They tell me yes. What's required? You also have to know what their requirements are and obey them, because that could be minimum 30 days, minimum 14 days, minimum 7 days. That's not something that I'm looking for. It could be they want you to do a background check on a criminal screen on your guest that's booking with you. So you have to be okay with doing all of those things. So
maybe that's the stuff that scares me. Like to be honest, it doesn't seem too different from long-term rentals. Just instead of me just doing it one time every year, if it's a new tenant, you're just doing it a little bit more often.
Correct. And I'm sure you know it, with any if you're not doing a 9 to 5 or a 7 to 7, and you're taking a step to go a path that people rarely go, like when I say it's a lot of people in real estate, but not the general people with the regular 9 to 5 jobs or whatever, you're going to be taking some risk. You're gonna have to be okay with taking risks, and also getting uncomfortable, just like we were talking about prior to starting. Like, I'm really an introvert, so it stepping out of my comfort zone is very cringe to me sometimes, but I know it is necessary and is mandatory to get to the next step of my life. So it's like, you got to do it.
But that's like a thing too with like nurses too. Like we say like you got to get uncomfortable, but we're like this people that like deal with all the shit that goes on from the hospital, from the bottom to the top. We're like, I don't want to get uncomfortable, but we're uncomfortable the whole shift. I feel
I
like
was
that's why we make so good entrepreneurs too.
true, true. That could be 100% right. But I don't know. That's why I'm trying to show people. I say that I try to educate nurses, but really whoever comes to me and needs help, I'm willing to offer it because I'm not special. Like I'm not any more special than the next person. So I know for sure, regardless if I see this stuff all the time, this cringe like stuff, you can do it too. You can 100% do it too. It's just about the mindset. You got to get your mindset there. I had no clue about thinking about my mindset, talking about my mindset. Like that's the first step. Because if you don't start with that, then you're not going to be able to take on those risks, take on the rejection, take on those L's that might happen along the way. Just yeah, you anybody, I feel like anybody can do it. I'm not no more special than anybody. And getting in the rooms where people are doing it because it shows you what is possible. Like if you're
That
not around people that's showing you, then yeah, you're gonna think that it's not possible because you're gonna think like, dang, like look at them, like, whew. Especially looking at social media,
oh
it could
yeah.
it can make you feel like I don't know, it's another world almost. But when you start getting around those people, you're like, dang, you so down to earth, like, oh, maybe I can do it.
Yeah, like you said, you're just like me. We could all do it. Just the only difference is that you actually got out there and tried it.
Execute it.
Yep. And that's a thing that I tell a lot of like my coworkers or other nurses that like reach out, like, how are you doing all this entrepreneurial stuff? I was like, well, at the end of the day, if I fail, I end up working my 7 to 7 shift just like you. Like
Mhm.
my backup is a very stable backup.
Mhm. I feel like I 100% agree with that. And with me, with our backup being so stable, I feel like it kind of I'm I'm trying to not think about it as a backup so much. I need to like Neo says, it has to work or it has to work. But I feel like our security of our backup can sometimes keep us from not going as hard as we
Mm.
can go because we know that we have that to fall back on. Like we will always have this to fall back on. It's like, dang. So sometimes I'm just like, okay. I mean, I still have nursing. Like it's nothing to get a job. It's like nothing. But if I didn't have this, it's like, dang, what would I be doing? Like I might be going way more harder than I am right now. I'm almost 100% sure of it.
That, you know, I'm really happy you brought that up because that's probably the mental block that I have is that like, if I fail, it's okay. And having that mindset of it's okay doesn't really push that needle to the next step.
100%. Yeah. And but it's like we're in it. We're nurses. Like we can't not think about it as being there because it is there. So we just got to continue to push ourselves past that. And I feel like the room will get it done for us. And then also I feel like it depends on the person that we are. Some people are really passionate about nursing, and yes, they want to do some entrepreneurship things, but they don't ever see themselves leaving nursing either. That's not me. I know, I know 100% when I feel secure enough to step away, that I will step away. And I will always have nursing. I probably will always even get my license
It's
renewed
renewed.
even afterwards. But when I feel secure enough, I will definitely be stepping away. I'm not that person. So that's kind of in my mind too. Like, okay, Nikita, do you want to be doing this like forever, like up until like retirement age? Like I always show people a video too. My first travel job in Tallahassee. That was for that to be my first travel job. That was a hell of a 13 weeks. I'm just going to tell you because at that time I didn't know. I was working on that PCU floor, but
Mhm.
the floor that I went to, it was a IMCU floor. So we didn't have that at UF Health. And I kind of sort of feel now like a lot of people don't like float nursing. And I feel like that is the best way to see what you like and what you don't like, because you might
Mhm.
think the grass is better on your side and you get floated to another floor and you're like, hell, they working me like a dog over here, or I actually like this better. So I'm always down to float. It doesn't bother me. But when I was at Shands, I thought like we handled, like, we got the worst of the worst. We did the most. But when I went to that IMCU floor, granted, I feel like that was a step up in acuity, but a lot of things that Shans did not accept, they were accepting there. So I was like, hold on. It was so much, it was so much more learning to do there for that to be my first one. I was like, oh my God. I just went all around the world and I forgot what my main point was. My train derailed off the track, but
the security, we were talking about security, and then you went to travel nursing that maybe could have messed up with the mindset, but then you kept with it. I don't know. That might not have been too. I'm just enjoying this conversation a lot.
I completely forgot. And I need to stop doing that. I would go all around the world with something and then forget my beginning point. But if it comes back to me, I'll pick it back up.
So you're talking about when you feel more secure about leaving nursing, what's like that financial number for you? What is security to you?
To be able to travel when I want to be able to take, I feel like
I'm looking at your Instagram right now. You're traveling when you want to.
I do. But like travel and not have to worry about the price tag. And also I don't want to travel by myself. Like sometimes, depending on your friends, if you don't have a lot of nurse friends, because our schedules are very unique, we can't always travel with them. So it's like, okay, I want to go somewhere, but my friends can't go with me. Am I going to do a solo trip? And even with your family is not always in the same financial area that you're in. So I would like to be able to travel, but also like to be able to take my family on trips and things like that. That's money to be spent. So I have to be making that type of money. And then also just money to make other investments to set myself up and my future kids. I don't have kids right now, kids and other family members up for a better future. So I forget what I said my last fire number was on the interview. My mentor had took us through a mindset and basically your fire number exercise. I want to say it was like, I want to say it was like 5 million or something. It was either three to 5 or something like that, because that calculated all the things that you could want and be able to pay for all of your expenses at that time. It has to be a good amount of money to make me comfortable to step away from everything.
That's true. So are you getting closer? How far do you think, how many years out do you think you are?
Well, from a couple million, I'm gonna have to just keep putting in the work, pushing that needle. First of all, I got to get the nursing out of my mind and keep pushing towards growth and what I'm doing. And I feel like I'm getting closer and closer because I've been continuously stepping out of my comfort zone. So originally where I was just doing Airbnb, now I'm starting to show others about Airbnb, starting to do mentorships and provide other digital products, because when you definitely have to diversify your portfolio.
Yes.
And when people say that, I used to think in multiple things, but it doesn't have to be in multiple things. It could be in the same thing that you're doing, just a different area of that thing, because you're not going to be able to focus on multiple things. But every year, I definitely do think I'm getting closer to that. But I think it's still a little ways to go for me before I'll be able to 100% step away, because I still have a lot of growth. Like last year and this year, I'm in still my building and learning phase, like going to conferences, like self-development, paying for mentors. That's not cheap. So I'm making money, but I'm also putting out a lot of money to grow myself as well.
And I love that you're bringing this up, because obviously, like we talked about, you see the Instagrams, the highlight reels. It's like, no, we're doing well, but we're also still working as nurses because we're not at that level yet, but we're growing, we're doing our best. And that's what I love to like show on the podcast here, is that we are still working. We're working really hard, but we're also using our free time outside of work to work really hard to make our money, make more money.
Exactly. You have to do that. And what people, I feel like, don't realize, like social media definitely glamorizes entrepreneurship and makes it like the it thing, but it takes money to make money. So when you're first starting, you're going to get profit, but it might not be the profit that you want to piece out on your job. Like you have to get that profit. And I was for like I've been doing the Airbnb for 3 years now, but for the first part of it, I made mistakes because I didn't have a mentor to show me the right way. So I've had to pay for those mistakes. I've also had to pay for the mentors and things like that. But I didn't take any profits then. It wasn't until I went to a conference and I learned about this profit first, like prioritizing how your money and distributing it up is when I started to take profit because I strictly wanted to reinvest back into my business to continue building it. Now, depending on that person, that might not be possible. But since I had nursing as a backup, I had my nurse money for personal and my business money for business stuff to continue to reinvest back into myself. But I think people should definitely be aware when you start a business, don't just look to just get the profits and spend. You have to keep learning, keep educating yourself, and keep growing your business because your business is going to grow, but it definitely needs you in it and reinvesting back into it to be able to grow.
And since we're talking about money here, what was like your best month or best year that you've had with Airbnb?
Every year is my best year because when I first started off,
It's a great thing to hear.
Right. If you're not continuously growing, then now you have to step back and reanalyze like, okay, well, what happened this year? Because last year I made more, and now this year I'm not. So every year has been like a step up. Last year, I believe it was 176,000 from Airbnb, but that didn't include VRBO, that didn't include booking.com. So the analytics are just easier for me to see and remember off the top from Airbnb. That's how I know that. But and then the months can vary because you have to think about the seasonality. So when it's high season, and it depends on what type of bookings you get. I love midterm bookings too, but midterm bookings can be a little less than your short-term bookings are because you're providing somebody usually a discount to stay for a longer period of time, but it makes it more passive. I would say my highest return for a month was, I think it was 21,000.
Wow.
Now I say that, but still take into account that you still have to pay your rent. Right. And you still have to pay your utilities and whatever renter's insurance you have. And then also take this into account. That's why I tell people to make sure when you're going into furnishing your units that you're not furnishing, like going all out. Because some people, they want to get all the things that they like or maybe that they didn't have put in their homes and stuff like that. If you're still paying on your business credit, if you have business credit, or you're still paying yourself back, then now some of that profit is going back to paying yourself back if you're not finished. But yeah, it's about 21,000.
Wow, it's still a huge number. And then, do you manage all your properties yourself?
I do. So I'm gonna say half and half because right now my significant other, he helps me. So I always tell people when they ask me, it's definitely possible to do. If you have your messaging set up correctly, the people that read will barely ask you any questions, but it's always people that don't, that will still ask you the repetitive questions. But so you're just responding back to them, which doesn't take much time. Everything is in the unit, all the pictures. If you provide the information, you won't spend much time doing it. And then the other systems that you have in place to connect, like your booking site to your cleaning site, different things like that. That helps you save time. With my significant other, if I'm not able to respond back, maybe I'm asleep because I usually work night shift, he'll respond back for me. If you don't have somebody to do that, you can always get a virtual professional. And from what I haven't had one, but from my research and what I've heard from others, they can be about $4 to $6 an hour just for the hours that you might need. Yes, you'll have to train them, but you won't have to do the messaging.
Yeah, it could be automated after a certain amount of time.
Exactly. And then the messaging, I feel like, is basically the biggest part, because outside of that, you have your smart locks, you have your security cam, and that's just automated by itself. Your automated messaging is going to go automatically to your guests. So you don't have to sit there and manually do the messaging over and over. It's just going to them whenever you have that set time for each guest. The site desk, I use Turno for cleaning. That site is automatically incorporated to all of my booking sites. So it automatically goes over to my cleaners. I don't have to communicate with them. They pick up the jobs.
That's what I wanted to go into. That's like one of my biggest questions. How do you find like the cleaning people that you trust to get in there at a certain time if you're having back-to-back bookings?
Right. So I'm not even gonna lie. The cleaners, when I think I said this the last podcast I was on, it's always something about those C's. In nursing, it could be your CNAs that give you hell. Airbnb is going to be your cleaners. And then I think when I get into the ownership part, it might be the contractors. So
Sure.
it's something about the C. So the cleaners will definitely be your biggest headaches. That's what I found out. Because for one, we're nurses. Those that are nurses that might be watching, or those that aren't, like, how can I put this? I don't even know how to put it, but anybody that has a job, we aren't used to having to know what to do. Like, it's already steps and guidelines and requirements for everything that we already have to do. So it's like, yeah, we're going to see, we don't know what we're walking into, but when we get into it, we know what we have to do or who we need to phone. Like, that's automatic. When you're stepping into entrepreneurship and Airbnb in particular, I didn't know how to hire and fire. Like, I'm not knowing what interview questions to ask or anything. So that has definitely been a growing process for me, because it's like, okay, I hired this person didn't work. Okay, how can I improve that interview process, and what questions do I need to ask to better vet them for the next time? And then I've been through so many cleaners. That's all I'm going to say. Because a lot of times they have another job that now they don't have the open availability like they might have said. A lot of times they start doing a good job, but then they slack off. And then it's like, okay, well, now I'm trying to think about, what do the jobs do for people to like build morale? So like, now I'm trying to like, let me show them that I appreciate them. Yes, I'm providing them with a job, but okay, now maybe on Mother's Day, I'm sending them a gift for Mother's Day or Christmas or things like that, because I tell them up front, hey, this is my business. You are the heart of my business. If my properties aren't cleaned correctly, I'm not going to get booked, meaning I don't make money, meaning that you don't make money. Exactly. So I want you to grow with me, and I hope that we're able to grow together. But the cleanliness has to be there, and you have to be independent to be able to come and do your job. You don't have to talk to me. Like,
just do the job.
You get the job from the booking site. You pick it up automatically on that particular site. They have the inventory. They have any problems. Of course, if it's something big, just hit me up or call me. I'm always available. But everything's right there for you to take care of. Like, if you can't do it, let me know. A lot of people or cleaners that I've had, they forget that this is a real job. You can't just say, if you request to be taken off of it, you have to get approved because you picked it up.
Yeah.
You have to communicate things. So it's been times where I've been watching the door cam, and I'm like, okay, if they're running a business, sometimes they have to prioritize same day check-in. So if you don't have a same day check-in that day, they might come to you after their priority cleaners, which is fine because it's usually enough time. But I've been watching the camera one time, and it's gotten down to the wire, and I'm like, I haven't seen a cleaner come here, and I have somebody checking in. I've had to grab my mom, grab my best friend, and we go over there and clean the unit.
Oh, damn.
Yes. I've had times where prior to me getting the smart lock, I had the lock boxes on the doors. And you would be amazed at how many people don't know how to work
use those
lock boxes. And I'm just like, is it me? Like, I've had to go over there because not even the guests don't know how to use it, but the cleaner, when she's updating the code, she's put it in the wrong code, and now the key's stuck in the box. Now I have to go over there. It's just been so cleanliness. They fall off, and now the guests are complaining to me. That's what I let them know too. if you don't do something right, the guest isn't complaining to you, they're complaining to me. So now that's a question that I've had to incorporate. If a guest complains to me about something that hasn't been done, what are the steps that you're going to take to rectify this? Are you willing to go back and rectify the issue? Because some guests will say, yeah, you can send the cleaner back. Some guests might say, we'll take care of it. We don't want nobody to come back because all of our personal belongings are here. But what are you willing to do to rectify that? I wasn't asking that question at the beginning. Like, I've had to start, I can't, if I have to refund the guest for an inconvenience, now I've paid you and I've paid the guest. Okay, so how am I going to get my money back?
How am I making money?
Right. So now I've had to incorporate letting them know, hey, if I have to refund a guest for any inconvenience as it relates to cleanliness, either you have to reimburse me or it's going to come out your next clean. It's the cleaning. People might think that getting the property is the hardest part, but really hiring and firing people is the hardest part. And this is another quote that I've heard from someone else. They said, hire slow and fire fast, because you're going to try to nurture that person and think that they're going to change. Like, hey, let's pick a time to talk about, okay, what was wrong. And like, they have to be short-term rental cleaners because it's the small details that matter. Like, you can't be a commercial cleaner and then just think that you can clean a short-term rental, because it's different. But the cleaners they are my biggest headache. And it's kind of, I have some good ones now. I have one that's been with me for a long time, but they are the biggest issue with me.
I get it. And then I've had to fire a few people just for my long-term rental stuff, and it's a headache, but at least when you do find the good ones, they usually stick around. And as long as you treat them with the respect or give them a good amount of leeway, they keep your business running pretty well.
Right. And with my good one, I'm like, do you know anybody else that I can use? Or she might tell me she's not available, but do you know a friend? Because if she's like you, then that'll be amazing. But yeah, people might think that getting into the business is the hardest part, but it's really, to me, the cleaners.
So a few final questions here. I know you did your travel nurse contracts to get the funds to start.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use just like straight up cash, or did you use like business lines of credit or anything to start?
So when I first started, I didn't know about business credit, so I wasn't able to access that. I used my personal money to start my business, which was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and that was about $5,000. After that, continuing to educate myself, like I had heard people saying OPM.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what the hell is that? I don't know. So I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So after that, I started to learn more about it. And then that's when I was able to get my next unit, but I did use some business credit.
Yeah, because that's like a huge thing. Like, a few people talked to me about it, and I didn't even think about it at the time, where they're using like the 0% credit cards for like the 12, 18, 24 months. They're like, you could furnish your whole apartment like that, and then with all the bookings, you just pay it back, and you just got a free loan from whatever bank, credit union, whatever.
Correct.
And I was like, wow.
Right. And that's also how people are able to scale faster. Like, you want to know how are you able to do it? Well, if you're doing it the slow way, you're saving up the profits that you make and then you're reinvesting to get another unit. But if you have your business credit, some of these banks, they'll give you $20,000, $30,000. And if 1 bedroom only take approximately $5,000, you can scale quickly using that method.
Yeah.
And it's also your risk. What is your risk tolerance?
That's true. How many Airbnbs do you have running right now?
I have 7.
Is there like a magic number that you want to have running?
Originally, my magic number was 10, and that wasn't really. It was just a number that was in my head. I was like, just an even number. It wasn't really. But this latest one that I got, I just got it because it was in a new area, and then I had a relationship with the manager, and he wrote me like, hey, we're open in a new location. It's available if you would like to come out here. So I was like, okay, I'll get one out there. But right now, what I'm focusing on is the ownership aspect. So I'm looking to purchase my first property by the end of the year. But of course, I'll be able to use my profit from arbitrage to help me do that.
That's amazing. Like you're gonna ladder your money to get another property where you have full control over it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have like your own real estate that you own, are you still gonna do arbitrage as well?
So it depends on the market. So I don't feel like every market will be good for, and it wouldn't be arbitrage because I'll be owning it, then it'll
Mhm.
be the ownership. But I don't know if I will be doing Airbnb, or I don't want to do the long term. Really, I would prefer, either if I did long term, I want to do HUD, because I had a mentor, real estate mentor, and she was
What's hood?
the the housing assistance. So like maybe if you're
Oh,
a
okay.
single mother and have the kids, so that you're getting paid by the government
Right.
versus that person. I would do that if I did long term. I would like to do midterm, but it depends on where I purchased the house from,
Yeah.
which method is good for that particular market.
Yeah. I, I love it. There's so many options they could go through. And you talked about mentorship, and I'm on your link tree. What do you give? Well, when you're I see your startup Airbnb startup course. What's
Mhm.
involved in that?
So I have the course and the mentorship. The course basically starts from A to B, which is that first step that you need to do, formulating your business, all the way through getting the property, to listing the property, to furnishing the property. What is Airbnb arbitrage? Everything. What I usually tell people that is interested in the course is, one, you have to know what type of learner you are. I know I prefer a mentorship because I need like that one-on-one. I want to meet up with you. I want to be able to connect with you, ask you questions if need be. That's how I learn best. If you're a person that is able to read, digest, and execute on information, definitely go with the course. With the mentorship, you're going to get the course, plus you're going to get me, plus you're going to get guest speakers from those different industries that I don't necessarily have expertise into, as far as building up your LLC in the correct way. In my mentorship, I always tell people, when I first started, I did it by myself. So
Mhm.
when you first make a LLC, you're not supposed to use your house address. You want to get a professional email. Like, those things I didn't do. I am still successful, but I didn't do it the right way. So when I'm showing other people, I want to make sure that they do the things the right way, because you want to, any problems that I may have or have had, I want you to bypass those. So I bring somebody else in to talk about those type of things. When it comes to business credit and funding, I bring someone else in to talk about those type of things, because I didn't know about those things. And then when people are thinking about investing in it, everybody might not have the funds like I did from when I was traveling to just invest in it. And that's one of the things that hold a lot of people back. Like, I can't do it right now, but really the banks will give you money for your business, and they just don't know. So I bring in guest speakers. They'll have access to my community, where we just you can connect with me, and then others that are also either having their Airbnbs already or in the same path as you, looking to get their first Airbnb. And then also with the hopes of, we start to do outings as well. So like right now, I'm talking to them about a short-term rental conference that's actually going to be, I think it's June 2nd through the 4th, that I'm looking forward to going to. So if they want to come, then we can go and meet up. So different things like that.
That's awesome. And last few things right here. If
Mhm.
there was any nurses that wanted to test out their entrepreneurial mind, what advice would you give them?
You have to definitely step out of your comfort zone, for one. You can do it. Get into the rooms. That's one thing that started me on my path of knowing more and stepping out of that comfort zone, was getting into the room with others that were doing the things that I wanted to do. Because really and truly, we do not know what we don't know. And I've heard that so many times before, I feel like I really knew what it meant. But your mind sometimes is like a little box, and that's all that you know. And then when you start getting around other people and they start telling you things, you're like, what, this is possible, this is a thing. Like, you have to get out of your comfort zone and get around those people. And then once you get that information, you need to execute. A lot of times we wait, we have our limiting beliefs, and that will hold you back. A lot of people may think that other people hold you back. You are the main person that holds you back the most. So you need to just execute on it. Because if it doesn't work, you can make it work some type of way. Like you're
Mhm.
gonna go through ups and downs, but as long as you push through, pivot, you'll make it.
And Nikita, if anyone had questions, how could they reach out to you?
So you can reach out to me, of course, on IG. It is the Airbnb RN. I just did update my YouTube page, so that's the Airbnb RN as well. I am on TikTok as well. I believe it's forever.nikita on TikTok, but I will be changing that over to the Airbnb RN too, just to be the same across the board. I do answer my DMs, so you can write me in the DMs if you have any questions as it relates to Airbnb or nursing, or you are thinking about jumping into the course or the mentorship, but you have some questions that you want to ask before. Definitely write me. I definitely write back. And yeah.
Nikita, this was so much fun. You just blew my mind with everything here. I'm probably going to join at least the course of the mentorship because I need to figure this out. I need to break through my own mental stops and start doing what you're doing.
Yep.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on here and chatting up with me.
Thank you so much. This was so easy to do. Like you made everything flow. Like you did everything perfectly. Took me out of being my nervousness and my introvertedness to just make this happen. You're doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Have a great weekend, and I'll be messaging you regarding everything else.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.